The strictly disciplined Pilgrim Fathers who founded the second English colony in America in 1620, the Plymouth colony in Massachusetts, could not have been more different from the scoundrels and layabouts of Virginia. So were other Puritans who followed them to America after 1628. These Puritans came for the same reason as the Pilgrims. They were being persecuted in England because of their religion. Like all the settlers before them, the Puritans came to America with their hopes and their dreams, as well as complete faith that God would grant them success. The Puritans first settled at Naumkeag, which they renamed Salem. Others moved further on into Massachusetts, and it was some time before they found a suitable place for their settlement. They tried Charleston, which lay between the Mystic and Charles River, but it was an unhealthy place, and there was an epidemic of dysentery. The Puritans moved on across the Charles River until they came to the Shawmut Peninsula. It was a very small area, only 2 miles long and 1 mile wide, but it had a good ice-free harbor, and the Puritans decided that this was the place to settle. They named it Boston, after the town of the same name in Lincolnshire, England, which had helped to pay for their voyage to America. Because there was too little space, some of the Puritans settled a short distance away at Watertown and Roxbury. Because the 3 towns were close to each other, they were easier to defend against attack. The Puritans did not want to make the same mistake as the Virginia colony, where the settlements were far apart and much more vulnerable. The first winter the Puritans spent in America was very hard, and 200 people died from scurvy or other illnesses or in accidents. Unlike the other English colonies, the Puritans were not controlled by a company in England, which could tell them what to do and not do. They were entirely independent. This, though, had its disadvantages. As one of the Puritans, John Winthrop Jr., put it, they had all things to do, as in the beginning of the world. But Boston and the other Puritan settlements survived, and more colonists came in the years that followed, reaching 8,000 by 1637. Before long, Boston and its adjacent towns had all the appearance of a well-behaved community. The Puritans chose their own governor and deputy governor. They always paid the proper price when they bought land from the local Native Americans. Afterwards, the land was divided, so that everyone had their fair share. So many strips of land for plowing or pasturing their cattle, so much meadowland, so much woodland. The Puritan faith was, of course, very strict. Everyone was expected to attend church regularly and to keep the Sabbath as a holy day. But there was one important thing wrong with this ideal community. The Puritans were not in the least bit tolerant.
The Puritans fled to New England in 1630, mainly to escape religious persecution in England, and you would have thought that such people would actually be quite religiously tolerant of other religious groups. However, they weren't. The 17th century was an era when religious belief, individual religious belief, was vitally important, and it became very important to be right or wrong. And if you weren't right, then you were wrong. And people actually fight wars over minor theological issues. So the Puritans, who go off to form the Godly Society in New England, argue that only Puritanism can exist in New England because that is the most pure form of Christianity. And how can they create a utopian society when they can't even agree on what the proper religion should be?